Base is dropped on a new round of Soccer's morning show. Soccer down here. John, are you there? We're going to try it. We'll see what happens. Biggest thing today is making sure that everybody's safe and that you're all right as we're getting ready for a weekend with Atlanta United. With the Twos, they are both in Philadelphia. Don't know what the travel plans are to escape Atlanta and head up to Chester for the weekend, but I think article from Doug Robertson of the AJC had two separate options and with the possibility of a third if things really got bad. Don't know what the situation is at Hartsfield-Jackson at the moment, and we'll see what is going on with all of that. I've sent out the bat signal to Jason, so if Jason can join us an hour or two, not knowing what the travel plans are, we can find out what the travel plans are and what Jason thinks about Atlanta United and Philadelphia and the Twos and Union 2. Saturday night, it is 7:40 kick in Chester, and broadcast plans on the radio side of things. The pregame show will be 6:30 on 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app, and then kickoff 7:40, full-time report after that. The Twos are Sunday afternoon, 2:30 here on the network. 3:03 kick in Chester, season finale for Atlanta United 2. We're going to be catching up offline with Steve Cook for the pregame show coming up on Sunday afternoon at 2:30. So we'll get his conversation, get his thoughts about heading into the last match of the year, where he can be a spoiler in the Eastern Conference as Philadelphia is chasing FC Cincinnati 2, and it's pretty tight up top. So we'll see what happens there with Atlanta United 2, Philadelphia Union, and Union 2. Here's the rundown for today. Because there are folks in the area that are losing power, we're going to do this as long as I got power because you don't know how long it's going to be. So we're going to try and be as normal as possible coming up in just a little bit. You've got Bart Keeler coming in about 10 minutes. We're going to go through some reffing down here because of the championship games that happened Wednesday night. Bart apparently was up late, and we'll check in with Bart first and foremost and find out how things are and what his night was like. Then want everybody to let everybody else know how you're doing. And I feel like, Enzo and Big Cass all of a sudden. How you doing? How you doing? Just let everybody know how you're doing, what you need, if there's anything that needs to be done or anything like that. Just glad that everybody who's reaching out to us this morning is safe and can manage what's going on right now. We've been told in the Atlanta area to stay off the roads until basically right now because the rain is tapering off, but now you have the flooding and everything else that's attached to it. So we got to keep an eye on that. It'll be taxing for the infrastructure here in the city and all this kind of stuff of all of this and what's going on. So we'll keep an eye on all of that with the information this morning. So basically keep an eye on stuff and we will, we'll navigate as we go. But the biggest thing is we just wanted to make sure, first and foremost, when I came on this morning, that everybody was okay and how things are going. Nick, if you follow Nick on social media, I would recommend that you do. Nick's brother and sister-in-law are having to navigate this with his sister-in-law being 30 weeks in, and they were in a hospital in Tallahassee, Florida overnight with Helene deciding what she was going to do. So don't have an update on that, but if you're into sending good vibes and warmth and love, do that to Nick and his family with everything that's going on there. Then, obviously, the news of Darren Eales. Darren is stepping aside because of a blood cancer diagnosis. We'll get into that on the other side of things in hour number 2 and go through that. There's news on Rodri. We'll get you ready for the weekend with Weekend Whiparound, patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully rather than later, and get you ready for all of that. So, 4.24 million in 4 states dealing with power outages right now. Yes, the Weather Channel's off on the Big 55 off camera. So if you see me ducking over and seeing things, that's where we are. All right. That was kind of an opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code. For those of you who are able to catch up with us this morning live on the audio and the video side of things, use the QR code, use the code soccer down here 15 when you check out at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. You get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10% reinvest at youth games, youth initiative, stuff that they have earmarked as cool at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right, our first check-in in the morning, we go to Brookhaven. And Brookhaven is northeast Atlanta-ish, and Bart's going to hang out with us. So how was the night for you and the better half in Brookhaven, sir?
Well, I'll correct you a little bit. I'm in Lindbergh.
Okay.
So I am about 120 yards northwest of the confluence of the Peachtree Creek North and South Fork. Literally, the confluence trail is on the other side of my apartment complex. But so that is the creek that's been causing all the problems here in Atlanta. But here in Lindbergh, we are fine. Now, literally right across the street of Piedmont, and between Piedmont and Peachtree is where all that flooding is happening. But we are dry, safe, and electrified. So thankful for that this morning.
Yes, and well, let's. I'm hoping that you are safely electrified because you don't want to be
dry, safe, and electrified.
You want to be. You don't want to be electrified and in outdoor environs. Although watching all the live shots,
I do have multiple bottles of wine that now I don't know if I should drink this weekend or just save up for the next rainy day.
Well, let me ask you this: what's West Virginia got this weekend?
We play Oklahoma State tomorrow at 4 p.m. And luckily, if all things are okay, I'll be watching with my fellow Mountaineers, Peach State Mountaineers, up at Lassiter's Tavern in Vinings. So that is the hopeful plan.
Well, I was going to say with all of the vino that could be Keno that you have, I mean, that's why I was asking about what take the over. I think is the safe play when it comes to the total.
Yes,
Oklahoma State and West Virginia.
Always
that to me, yes, that one to me stood out with everything. You reached out yesterday, and I wanted to spend more substantive time with the reffing down here moments and getting into the arguments about penalty kicks and keepers keeping their stationary status and things like that. Which element in reffing down here did you want to tackle first as we walk through reffing down here on a Friday?
Well, there are two, so I'll preface it with that. Main ones. The first is from the Campeones Cup final, that penalty kick shootout, and the other one is from the Open Cup final, the goal that opened the scoring in the game. Let's start with the penalty kick shootout because I think it's a little clear cut. I think people understand what we're saying here, but talking heads on Twitter somehow don't, and I think that's the concern, John.
Okay, go for it.
So obviously in the final, I guess it was the final penalty kick for Columbus, the one that missed off the crossbar, which counts as a save for a goalkeeper in the context of vibes.
GK Union hanging out with you.
But does not count as a save in the context of the laws of the game, and that's where we have to look at this law of the game. So when we talk about determining the outcome of a match, we go to penalty kick shootouts, as they call it in IFAB, kicks from the mark, which is a lame name. Just call it a PK shootout.
That sounds like what Bama's going through with the grand final coming up.
Yes. Yes.
Kicks from the mark.
Kicks from the mark.
Kicks from the mark. Go for it. All right. Yeah.
So it is true though. But so that is how we determine the outcome of a match, and basically that means we go to an extensive application of Law 14, the penalty kick. Now, we're all familiar with the procedure should be, but I think one of the questions we have is there is the line. The defending goalkeeper must remain on the goal line facing the kicker between the goalposts until the ball is kicked. The goalkeeper must not behave in a way that unfairly distracts the kicker. Example, delay the taking of the kick or touch the goalpost, crossbar, or net.
Right.
So we have more rules about what the goalkeeper can and can't do than what the kicker can do, because they can run to Iwo Jima and back and take a penalty kick, and apparently that's fine. Pause for 7 minutes and finish.
Take a sandwich and do your thing.
Yeah. But So that's what we know. We know that those are the things, right? So I think the question here is obviously the Club America goalkeeper, John. If and you can you can attest, he was off his line
Yes.
when the kick was taken, which everyone screams, "Oh, that means we have to retake it." That is not what the laws of the game say. Um, if the goalkeeper offends, if the ball enters the goal, a goal is awarded, right? So that happens a lot where the goalkeeper comes off his line, and I think that actually happened a couple times in the shootout where the ball's still in the back of the net, right?
I'm
We're
shocked.
fine. If the ball misses the goal or rebounds from the crossbar or goalposts, the kick is only retaken if the goalkeeper's offense clearly impacted the kicker. So
Okay.
that's kind of that key phrase there, John. And we do get an example of crossbar or goalposts, right? Which the kick hit the crossbar very loudly.
Yeah. Yeah,
So I
you got
think,
your clang, yes.
yeah, definitely. I think we would all agree that the goalkeeper just taking a half step off his line did not impact either the kicker or the result of the kick. Would you agree with that?
I would agree. I would
Okay.
stipulate to that,
And
yes.
so that's just where the confusion is because there was no impact. It's very similar to, you know, if I don't want to say it's an advantage because it's not quite the right word, but sometimes things happen in soccer that aren't actually impacting the game, and we kind of let them go. Similar to, maybe Erling Haaland throwing the ball against a defender's head,
And
that we
then
just have zero power to adjudicate or do anything about, John.
yes,
Um,
absolutely true.
no, I joke, but really what we're looking for there is, did the goalkeeper, I don't know, for example, rush the kicker, right? Did he
Yeah.
run up at the kicker, and that would have been, yeah,
Ah!
exactly.
Yeah, no.
That's really the only offense that we have where um, the result of the kick is not really important, right? Now, if the goalkeeper saves it, we retake it.
Then you've got an issue.
But all the others, I mean, so if a teammate of the goalkeeper offends or a teammate of the kicking team defends,
They're damn fast
we
outside the 18, first
right,
and
we
foremost.
do have to say if the defending team steps into the box early, right? But the ball goes in, okay, well, we don't do anything. But if he misses, no matter what, if he misses, we take the re-kick, right?
Yeah.
Um, same with an attacking player. If the attacking team goes into the box, right, and the goalkeeper or the kicker makes it, then we have to retake it. Now, if the teammate comes into the box and the kicker kicks the ball out of bounds for a goal
Sure.
kick, then we don't retake that. So
Okay.
this is a little bit weird because it is the only time where, like, the actual result of the kick, granted it has to be missed, um, it isn't contingent on an offense. So the one slight advantage goalkeepers have in the penalty kick shootout.
And that was the element here. I think that people are sitting there and going, it's like, well, he's off his line. That he has infringed upon the play, therefore it's got to be a re-kick. But I would look at it this way for those who are still trying to navigate the laws of the game. Think about it in an American football sense, where you have a play, it's a long completion, and the defender, the cornerback or the safety still commits pass interference.
True.
You have
Right.
the opportunity to either take the play or take the penalty and take the
Yeah.
15 yards or something like that. So you have the option of the play and the completion or the penalty in and of itself. You're going to take the completion because it was longer
Right.
than what the penalty would be, 15-yard spot foul or whatever. So you're in those kinds of navigations, think of it almost like in an American football sense where yeah, you can take either the play or the penalty, whichever is longer, and you're going to take the completion as opposed
Right.
to the penalty, something like that.
Yeah, it's similar. It's just it is weird. I understand because it's the one time where an offense doesn't really impact whether we take the kick or not because, well, the kicker missed. And John, I think Jarrett talked about this yesterday.
Mhm.
Kickers, if you're missing a penalty kick,
Oof.
with all the stipulations a goalkeeper have and all the allowances you have, the ability to start and stop, the stutter step, the all the run ups you can do, and the goalkeeper not being able to truly as much as, I mean, I'll talk about Patrick Schulte in a little bit, but
Sure.
both goals did a job in the penalty kick shootout. But even if you read and guess and react the right way, you still got to rely on a terrible penalty kick from the other team to save it.
Mhm.
And so I'm sure Greg Garza could talk about this of coaching up kids to take a penalty kick. But kids, I got to tell you, put the ball into the corner. I mean, you're going to make it. Give it
Yep.
some pace, put it, mid height, put it into the corner. Personally, I always aimed for literally the side netting because from 12 yards out, you can kind of see that pretty well. And about shoulder height is probably good for you. And you're probably going to score 98% of the time.
Yep. By the way, not knowing what our power situation was going to be, I gave our friends from Beyond Goals the week off, so you and I can rock and roll for a while here.
Okay.
So this and to your point about penalty kicks, I think that this is also something in the laws of the game that probably should continue to be looked at, addressed, because of the public hue and cry over the whole thing about starts and stops. Now,
I agree, John.
Walk me through laws of the game, because people sit there and I know this will play well for radio, but you've got folks that want to sit there and they want to get up their quick little start. They want to do their thing. And then they'll run up and then they'll stop, and it almost looks like they're going to come to a full stop, and then they keep going, and then it's like starts and stops, and it's almost like learning how, like when we're 15 and our parent takes us to the empty parking lot to try to learn how to drive a clutch for the first time, and it's like the engine stalls, those kinds of things. The breakdown of starting, stopping, if you are the player taking the penalty kick, what constitutes movement, what doesn't constitute movement, what's good, what's bad, what's allowed. Walk me through that side. Since we've gone in between the sticks, let's go to the spot. Walk me through that and the laws of the game, even though we know they should be changed.
Well, and this is the issue, is there's not a whole lot in the current laws of the game about what a kicker can or can't do. Looking through Law 14, again, the penalty kick, the procedure, really we have a couple of things that we have to do before the penalty kick is taken. We have to make sure the ball is stationary with part of the ball touching or overhanging the center of the penalty mark, and the goal post, crossbar, and goal net not be moving. Okay, that's pretty standard. But that does also, again, affect the goalkeeper, right? A lot of times you've seen goalkeepers hit the crossbar, the net, all that kind of stuff. So, there's that. The player taking the penalty kick must be clearly identified. We haven't really ever had that issue truly, but that is another one that we do have to be like, yeah, number taking the penalty kick, and that means that number 7 can't then run up and take the penalty kick. The players taking the penalty kick must kick the ball forward.
I've never known a penalty kicker to kick the ball backwards.
That's it, John. That is the end all be all of that. There's some more, like the player must take the ball forward. Back heeling is allowed as long as it goes forward. The kicker must not touch the ball again until it has touched another player.
So literally that's it.
which is the problem, right? Because in past iterations of the laws of the game, we did have the idea that it needs to be I forget the exact wording, but basically a continuous run up.
Right.
Must, once they start their kick, that must complete it, basically.
Right.
That's kind of the issue, is that the stipulations on kickers has been stripped away, while we've added way more stipulations on the goalkeeper. Now, the theory for that in normal play makes sense if you think about it, right? In regulation time, in the 90 minutes that you might be playing, the penalty kick is a penalty for a direct kick foul inside the penalty area, correct? That is the point of a penalty kick. So it is supposed to be.
I will stipulate to that count for you.
It is supposed to be punishment for the offending team committing a foul, a direct kick foul inside their penalty area. Um, so the fact that you have advantages given to the attacking team who were fouled inside the penalty area makes a whole lot of sense, right? I think that is understood to be the reason behind strict uh strict
Administration.
boundaries on what the goalkeeper can do and not as strict for what the kicker can do.
Right.
Now we do have a lot of strict boundaries on the players not involved. Obviously, they have to be outside the penalty area, behind the ball, and behind the penalty arc. And we are very strict on don't come into the box. I think we should just make it electrified. Speaking of that,
What is it that they have for dogs? The electric fence.
Yes, exactly.
Do something like that.
But other than that, the kickers don't have a whole lot of stipulations on them, on requirements on them, other than kick the ball forward. And that is because in normal time, a penalty kick is meant to be a literal penalty against the other team, right? It is supposed to be punishment. Now, the problem I think we all have with this, John, is that when we get into tournament settings and we have kicks from the mark, it does give the kicker a grossly unfair advantage in what shouldn't be such an imbalance of advantages.
Just ew, basically, is what we're staring at. So obviously, since we are solution makers here on the show, we believe in fixing things. We fixed Open Cup yesterday. We have fixed the All-Star game in years past. And so let's fix the wording in the laws of the game when it comes to activity for keepers and penalty kick takers. Let's fix the LOTG. How would you address that particular topic?
Well, I think it's just I think you could go back a little bit and add the stipulation that they must make a continuous run up to the ball. Right, whatever that wording ends up being, but just indicate that once the motion to take the penalty kick has started, right, you have to keep it. Now, I do think that could also be interpreted to mean once you get your up to the ball, you can't stop and start. Right. So that might rule out Joseph Martinez's favorite trick.
Yeah, the hop and go.
Hop. Yeah. But I think that could be the easiest solution. And I don't think that takes away that much of an advantage from the kicker, to be quite honest. I'm sorry. If you can't run up the ball, strike it, and put it in the corner of the net or put it in the net from 12 yards out with a goalkeeper who can't move until you kick it. I mean,
what's your problem?
Yeah, that's a you problem, not a goalkeeper problem, right? So I do think that could be an easy solution, John. And we did have that in prior, like it was there when I first started refereeing, but that was several years ago.
Yeah, that was last Tuesday. Yeah,
2 decades.
Last Tuesday. Patrick Schulte, you wanted to discuss Patrick Schulte?
I do. Before we move on to the Open Cup final, Patrick Schulte, man, he's been the starter for Columbus since 2002. Not the full time, I don't think, but he started
2022. I don't think he might have been barely alive.
I don't think it was alive in 2002. In 2022. And since then, he's been in an MLS Cup final, a U.S. Open Cup final, a Leagues Cup final, and a CONCACAF Champions Cup final. It's a lot of finals for a kid who's 23. Actually, he might be 24 now.
Sure.
I think he may have turned 24.
He's still a youngin', basically.
He's still young, right? There is a lot of hand-wringing from, Twitter bots. I don't know if they're bots. They act like it. About why Gaga Slonina is not playing in the Olympics. Why is he not playing? Gaga's the best keeper we've ever seen since Tim Howard.
Wait, what?
I like Gaga. I think he's a fine goalkeeper. He had great days in MLS.
And Gaga was great in A Star Is Born. I mean, I'll give you credit. Yeah.
Yeah, she was. Mm-hmm. But I think there's just something to be said about a goalkeeper who has literally been there and done that at 24 years old.
Yeah.
Right. 4 times in cup finals. And not just like, Gummy Bear Cup final, which still counts.
True.
Thanks, Ropes. I couldn't remember if he was. I know he was one of the older ones in the 23. But thank you.
the older ones.
I mean, right. That's weird. But anyway.
Yes, all right.
Patrick Schulte very well may be, and it's way early to talk about this for real, as anyone will tell you, goalkeepers do develop late. But at 23, we can start looking at him as the potential next guy for the U.S. men's national team. I think it's fair to do that. We saw him start and play a full game under the substitute teacher earlier this month. We're still in September. It's still my birthday month.
Yes. There you go.
and I think I think when you're evaluating goalkeepers, a lot of people just look at shot stopping. And so when you evaluate the Gaga Slonina tape, well, in Chicago, he got a lot of practice shot stopping. I don't know if you're aware of this, John, but Chicago Fire are terror bad as a club, as a team right now.
I could see that. Yeah.
And so he got a lot of shot stopping practice. So he's making a lot of wilds. I mean, Chris Brady's going through that right now. Bless his little heart.
Terror bad. I have to remember that.
Terror bad.
Terror bad.
Patrick Schulte doesn't get those opportunities because he's playing for I don't know, John. You might you could probably corroborate this. Maybe the best team in the league.
I would, yeah.
Outside of the one with the greatest player in the world.
Counselor, I will stipulate that they are the greatest team in the league.
I would argue that they're still the best team, even without the best player in the world.
Correct.
I think that just matters. I really do. He's getting great experience. He's playing real soccer, which I think does matter. He's not
playing real soccer.
Name a time Chicago has played real soccer in the past 3 years.
I wasn't linking in Joe Mansueto into this conversation.
Well, and here's the other problem is we talk about real soccer. I mean, Gaga's down in League One. They play kickball there. Let's be real honest. Sorry.
It's whew.
But Schulte has had interest from European teams. It wouldn't surprise me to see him get a move either this offseason or next summer. As a 24-year-old who can go to a mid-size, club or an upper-tier club in one of the, maybe Bundesliga or Ligue 1.
Or higher than Barnsley, for F's sake.
Right, higher than Barnsley. Higher than maybe even, where is Horvath? No, Cardiff. And if he can make that move, even if it's to, I don't know, say Marseille, Lyon, one of those types of clubs, right? Maybe it's a Strasbourg. Hey, one of those types of clubs.
Yeah,
that's a really good move for the kid at 24, and he doesn't have to start, right? But hopefully he can start playing soon. Obviously, as we've seen with men's national team goalkeepers, they go over to Europe. They don't play. They don't start. Then their form drops off. So you don't want that if you're Schulte.
Yeah.
But he is at the point now where I think we can safely put him into the group of 3 goalkeepers. I won't tell you where he ranks in that and who the other 2 are, but I think he's in the 3 that you need to start calling in for every camp. Because now that we're looking toward 2026, you do need to start building. The thing is, and I know, we have a new coach. He'll start in 15 days. Really coaching.
Yes.
Actually, probably about 10 days when you count it, like when they actually come to camp. But 15 days, he has his first game. We don't have a whole lot of time, so he's going to have to start coalescing his group quickly. And the one group that you just don't need to play a whole lot with is goalkeepers, right? And if Schulte's your third goalkeeper, and maybe even your backup for 2026, that's a good investment in the future. And that's kind of the other part here is I think he's earned it, but he has earned your investment, right? But it's also smart to pick the goalkeeper that you're investing in. He was the starter in the Olympics. He got the start in earlier this month. It wasn't the problem in that game, I'll tell you that much. That's not his fault that no one else on the field wanted to play a game against Canada that day. But it seems like, and it also seems like, John, and again, you can back me up on this, he might be playing in a 5th final pretty soon.
I could, Counselor, I could enter that in.
He's at least, I think it's safe to say he's at least playing in an Eastern Conference final. In what? When does that happen? 7 months from now? 2 months from now? I don't remember what MLS.
2028. Yeah.
I don't know what MLS.
The MLS schedule is. Okay, so now your second. Now that we dipped into the Soccer for US POD part of the program for our intermission, Now that
It's
we've
MLS adjacent. It's good to talk
it
about.
is well, no, it's like I said. I mean, it's soccer for you as POD. We used that as intermission. We went out to the lobby. We got ourselves a treat. Now we're back for the second half of the movie involving Open Cup. What was the moment that you wanted to attack there?
Well, it's the moment that opened the scoring, like I said. Bogusz gets the ball played into him from behind. Now, Olivier Giroud is clearly in an offside position when this attacking play starts, right? I think there's a turnover in midfield. I forget who exactly gets it. They pass to Bogusz. Olivier Giroud is offside. That does not matter. Again, it is not an offense in itself to be in an offside position, to quote the very first sentence of Law 11.
Okay.
I think we can all agree that his positioning of being super far offside did not impact the defenders, as they were all trying to hold their line with Bogusz, not at all with Giroud. That said, and we got a VAR review, and this is what I want to talk about, John, is
Go for it.
that review, the video angles, to me, did not convince me he was onside. And I will say, to me, it looked like he probably was a foot, maybe a foot and a half offside. Whoever does I forget who does the lines on the field, which are not the best way to do it on a TV screen than applying it to Twitter, but judged him to be about a foot offside.
Digitally adjudicated, yes, sir.
Digitally remastered. Digitally the thing here is, though, John, what was the call on the field? Goal.
Mm-hmm.
And
caught me with a mouthful.
When you have the call on the field be a goal, you have to have clear and obvious evidence that there's not a goal.
Correct.
And in this particular instance, you do not have that, and this is why. This is what I want to talk about, because also I think Giroud may have been offside when he actually scored the goal. I thought he was ahead of the ball, but that was a whole other thing.
Right.
What in MLS we do not use the line drawing technology that they use in the Premier League, and that has caused in the Premier League, John. I don't know if you have heard, but fans don't love that for some reason.
Yes, that is true. That
right.
is accurate, yes.
But in the case of this goal,
however,
in the case of this goal, I think it's fair to say it would have been called offside, and it would have been a lot closer than the hairline or toenail that they joke about over on the island across the pond.
Correct.
I think it's worth considering with MLS using some of the automated offside technology. I don't know necessarily if that would have worked in this scenario because it is close. But a foot is a decent amount of space to be offside,
right there.
Yeah. Ask any Atlantan this morning, a foot of water is a lot of water.
Yes, that is true.
And I just had an issue with this because it looked offside. And the lines are even on the field, right? Because of the way they mowed the grass. Props to the LAFC grounds crew, the BMO grounds crew. But you could see it just looked like he was closer to the next line cutting the grass than the defender who, there was one that wasn't quite with the rest of the line, but it just looked offside. And I guess my point here is I really would like MLS to explore automated offside, because I don't know if it would necessarily fix this, right, or have overturned it or even upheld it.
Right.
But I don't like the line drawing because it just takes time.
and you also have to have an individual who can construct the lines.
You have to have the construction. You have to time it perfectly right. You have to say, yes, at this moment, the ball. There's a lot that goes into it that makes it not an exact science. But I'm sorry, it looked like Bogusz was offside. I don't think that would have inherently changed the outcome of the match. I think LAFC probably goes on and wins this anyway. But at that point in time, it's still 0-0.
Yeah.
And Sporting Kansas City's goal was, an honest goal scored in open play. So, I wonder, John. It's more of a discussion question of, I think we all agree we don't like the lines for a lot of their margins for error not being great, but this felt like an opportunity to use some better technology than just a camera from a not straight on angle, to make this call and help the referees out on the field.
Okay, I'm writing this down as a roundtable discussion at a particular.
It definitely is an off-season discussion, but it's one that I just want to raise because we see this consternation,
Yeah.
this backlash,
Gnashing of teeth,
gnashing of teeth, wringing of hands,
yes, all of the above. Yes.
in England and around the world for those who watch the English game, when we draw lines, and people seem to hate that. And I get it. The problem is offside isn't. You're either offside or you're not. There's no. It might be a foul. It might not. This isn't a judgment call. It's a factual position on the field. Same with ball in and out of play.
Either you is or you ain't.
You is or you ain't.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to be as precise as possible, but we also have to understand that technology cannot be as precise as we would like it to be. Similar to, I don't know, a certain event that happened last summer where a ball was judged to have crossed the goal line despite, it not actually crossing it. And you cannot convince me or the goalkeeper who saved it that it crossed the line.
Oh, boy.
And it shows, I don't know, maybe a millimeter. I don't know what the margin of error is for that, but I gotta imagine it's within a millimeter is within that margin of error.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to find, I think, in MLS a better way to be a little bit more exact, or maybe just find a way to use technology to get a better look at the actual offside line. So we're not looking at it from an angle that is not straight down the line. And I think Bam brings up maybe one idea, a camera that tracks. I don't know if that's possible. But I just think there's a better way to do it.
I mean, well, in track and field, even though it is one direction, when they decided finally in competitions to install a West Cam on rail for track and field coverage, you got to see the lead. You get to see the lead runners and all of that discussion at ground level when they decided to finally bring in a West Cam and put it on a rail. So maybe it has something to do with the chips in. Like we have chips and numbers in road races. Maybe you got a chip in the ID plate for the sprinters, and you have that West Cam follow along and do it the same kind of a way. So Bam might be onto something there.
I guess what concerns me is MLS has been reluctant to even use the goal line technology, which seems like that in itself. I know it's expensive. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's sponsored. It was sponsored in a previous national rights holder.
Let's be real honest. The MLS owners collectively can afford it compared to what the Premier League owners have. And I know we can talk about Saudi Arabia and Qatar and all these other countries.
I don't know. I don't know about the Minnesota owner. Sure, yeah.
Well, and we know that a certain ownership group in Northern California sure as hell won't pay for it.
Oh, brother. I see. All right. So sidebar. I was this close. I couldn't find my Sell T-shirt this morning. But I was this close to wearing the other T-shirt that I have associated with that gentleman's particular baseball team. A shout out to our friends at Last Dive Bar, who have done tremendous gear work when it comes to the Oakland Athletics and the situation that the fans are going through right now. The T-shirt in and of itself has the initials of the owner. There are three letters on the front of the T-shirt that I have that is not my Sell T-shirt. There are three initials on the front of the T-shirt. The last two are the initials of the owner, JF. That's number two.
Is the other one also the initial of his last name?
Correct. That is number one, and I have that T-shirt, but I didn't know how appropriate it would be to wear that on the air.
John, I think this is actually a good discussion point for soccer.
Sure.
Because he owns a soccer team.
Yes, he does. Sure.
In the highest level in this country. And I think the question I have for this man is, why do you own sports teams when you don't seem to care about sports teams?
They're line items. They're assets on a balance sheet.
And that's kind of the issue I have is, I think for the most part, I think you can say the majority of MLS owners, while some of them may not want to spend money, are not apathetic to their product. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. It's like there's a
Even in Dallas, I think the
well,
Hunts want to be successful. They just don't want to put a lot of money into being.
well, and you could have said you could have said the same about Kroenke Sports and Entertainment with what they were doing in Colorado,
He's not aware that
but
Colorado exists
but
as I drink from my Arsenal.
but this past off season,
Yeah.
you bring in Chris Armas.
Yep.
You spend money. You bring in players like Georgi Mihailovic. I mean, you're not spending an ish ton of money by comparison
And
to
you don't
perhaps
have to in MLS. I think that's why most owners like MLS is you do
see
not have to
Crew,
spend a total amount.
Columbus.
Yeah. Columbus, even Cincinnati. I mean, I know they spend a lot on top end players, but they don't have the same type of budget that Miami, LA, Atlanta even does, right?
Just don't mention Brenner or Bupenza when it
Well,
comes.
that's why. I mean, look, I think the way to win in MLS is you spend good, smart money on your DPS,
Mhm.
and the rest of your roster is guys who just help
It's
carry the carry
well,
the
well, it's a combination of those players that fit roles
Yeah,
plus a developed academy footprint.
right. Which, by the way, I need to shout out the Atlanta United Academy. I think a lot of people complain about it because they don't understand how academies work, and they think that every year we're supposed to have 5 new starters on the first team from the academy. But the academy guys have played pretty well this year. I think the issues that we've seen with this team are not from the academy kids. We'll just put it that way. I think we would like Jay Fortune to be more consistent, but if that's your biggest complaint for a guy who wasn't supposed to be getting this many minutes,
And Jay has grown into the role that he
yeah,
is,
he's done much better.
and he has taken minutes away from others, and rightfully
Mianba.
so. Yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah, I knew exactly where you were going with that. You okay? Yeah. Now, did you get the cough out? You all right with the?
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking. Just
Yeah.
wanted to double
No,
check.
I to wrap it all up, I really would like MLS to invest a little bit more technology to support the referees because despite what people think, I think we have some pretty decent referees in MLS, really evidenced by
For the most part.
some of them getting a lot of attention from FIFA.
Yes.
Look, we have some good ones, right? And I think in the Open Cup we had a well refereed game. I think that one offside decision is an example of even really good referees are going to miss calls because these players are really fast. The ball is moving in uncoordinated ways, and a lot of times, and there's just because it's so open and fluid, referees cannot be always seeing everything that comes in their purview, and that there are ways to just help with a little bit of technology. I think some automated or semi-automated, I guess, offside technology would help. I think gold line technology would help.
God, you could get that
and
sponsored so
I would
easy.
just like to see some money injected into that because I don't think it would be that much money.
Okay. So you've got Oak State and West Virginia this weekend. What is up with Arsenal?
We play. Oh, who do we play this weekend?
See, for him, it's first things first. This is how it is with Bart. It's first things.
Leicester.
Okay, so that's another
Well,
3.
first things first, John.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Arsenal women getting a 4-0 win over Hacken yesterday, and now into the Women's Champions League group stage. We have Juventus, Bayern Munich, and club from Norway. So I feel pretty confident about that.
Yeah, I could see that definitely without question. Thank you for, as always, reaching out and waving the flag. Sit there. It's like, dude, we need to update this, and it can't sit. So, bringing everything forward with reffing down here and all the MNT stuff. It's always great when you sit there and go, hey, bruh, I need to come.
I'm glad you let me jump in. It just were things that bothered me a little bit, just because I think people, especially
Things that bother Bart for 500.
especially with the goalkeeper off their line thing, it's just like, man, what do you want these goalkeepers to do? Like, stand there and just hope the ball hits them?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, come on,
stand still, and hope that they go Panenka.
Especially in a penalty kick shootout.
In a PK shootout situation. We will catch up with you Monday with more reffing down here from the weekend because I know that will exist. And if there's anything else going on, I know that we have some of the other MNTs that are putting out schedules and things like that. The extended national teams, I think, put out their schedule for their games coming up here in recent
Futsal's in play. Yep. Yeah.
Just don't get caught attempting to fix futsal in world tournaments and things like that, because
Well, I mean, I think I could fix futsal by convincing the IOC to have it as part of the Olympics, but I don't think I'm going to fix games in futsal. That's
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. The French national team is not being looked at quite kindly for their recent actions in futsal.
Yeah.
Go enjoy your coffee. Go enjoy your weekend. Take the over. It should be a full weekend for you. The Oak State West Virginia game might be over by the time Arsenal play on Sunday.
What is the over? Let me look at that. Hold on,
Probably
I haven't looked at that line yet.
72.5.
Well, but not with our offense. Good Lord, Neil Brown loves to
65.5. You there? Like that?
What is it? Come on now.
Let's see who gets there first.
I know, right? I should get there. Oh, there we go.
All this
We've
math.
got.
Here.
Why can't I get the betting lines? Oh, because I don't bet. That's probably why.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, and if you're going to pay attention to me, then you certainly don't want to do it. Oak State's got Kansas State. They're in Manhattan.
That's right. No. We've got who do we have this week?
Do you have the bye? Do you have a bye week?
My calendar is all messed up. Oh, we do. We have the bye week. Oklahoma State's next weekend.
Okay, so all right, so Oak State's at Kansas State, so you get the bye, and you get to make
That's
sure
right. We do have the
ready.
bye.
You're raring and ready to go for
Atlanta United Philly at 7:30.
Yes,
because there's not another football game going on at 7:30 tomorrow night, John.
No, there's
My theory, John. My theory.
Yeah.
Freaking kind of shifted eastward. It kind of went a little bit more toward Athens. The Devil, aka Nick Saban, pulled one more over on Kirby Smart to get something on him. So that's
shoot.
Well, start that controversy.
If he had done that, then it would have been today. It would have been the heavy stuff today and overnight. And Kirby, I'm sure, probably headed west anyway. They probably spent the night in.
My dad and brothers are heading to the game, and I joked with them.
Spent the night in Heflin at a hotel, or they were in Ranburn, hanging out at the restaurant.
And I tell you, John, I will say this to your lovely bride. Auburn, the city, blows the doors off Tuscaloosa.
Oh, no question.
I will say that. So. Anyway.
Wait, before you go, did you know that that SDH was up for an award?
I think I heard about this. Yeah, SDH is up for an award, John.
Yeah, and
tell the people how to vote.
Well, right here, footballcontentawards.com/voting, and we're trying to turn this into Cook County politics, very, very Chicago-y. So find different IP addresses, log in, go to footballcontentawards.com.
Incognito mode, multiple browsers on the laptop.
Yes,
incognito mode.
Yeah,
and so get on your phone, go on the regular browser, go on the incognito. Hey, look, vote early, vote often, the Chicago way.
Exactly. You have until dinner time, local time, October 13th, because Bart with the Soccer for US POD being a part of the network and all that kind of stuff. Go to footballcontentawards.com/voting. Vote early, vote often, because we're ended up against 9 heavyweights.
Yeah.
One of these things is not like the other, and as I keep saying, grab your slingshot and your stone, people. That's what this is all about. 50% of the vote is the popular vote. And this legitimately, and this is what I'm thinking here, the fans of the other 9 will probably cancel each other out to a certain degree, because they're all going to be voting for themselves, and those numbers will be the same.
Mm-hmm.
This is our way to come up from lane 8 and crash the party and let everybody know what's going on. The fact that we are one of 3 in the United States that were nominated for the broadcaster rights holder category, 10 in the overall, 7 overseas. What used to be BT Sport, Sky, Talk Sport, DAZN, ITV, something called ESPN FC, Golasso Network, and us. I mean, hey, look, it is amazing and humbling, and all this kind of stuff that all the stuff that we do with all of our hosts and all of our programs here at the SDH Network. Footballcontentawards.com/voting. Vote until October 13th. 50% of the vote is there. Yes, sir.
I will plug Soccer for Us as well, because
as you should.
We
As
recorded
you
an
should.
episode on Wednesday, and then halfway through, apparently, my recording, because I don't know if you know this, John, but StreamYard does have a limit on how much you can actually hold in storage. I hit
Yes.
that limit about 20 minutes into the episode. So
Oh,
we had a great one. We're talking about, I don't know if John, if you saw this, but we have some venues for next summer that were
yes.
selected, and we had a venue selected for Nations League, and we thought it was a good time to discuss why the hell the U.S. men's national team doesn't play around the country, and kind of broke down the data behind where the both the myth and the reality of, well, they only play in a handful of locations, um, and kind of ranted about that. So that'll we're going to re-record and hopefully come out next week, and then after that we've got Pochettino's first roster. And if you listen to that podcast, you will also hear a plug to vote for the footballcontentawards.com/voting. Vote for soccer down here.
See, Bart's a part of the network. He knows how this is. It's like any kind
Go
of any program, any program attached to the network where you can have an opportunity to tell folks to vote. Literally, this is what we're here for. Go enjoy your college football where nothing's going on. So whenever Arsenal's playing Leicester, you can enjoy that. Go back, take your nap, enjoy things, and we'll be back with you 10 o'clock on Monday morning. Be safe, my friend.
Y'all be safe. Hope everyone stays dry. Hopefully everyone stays, power either comes back soon or stays on. Abby, enjoy your tub full of water.
Yes, we're going to get into that discussion with Abby and learning folks. Enjoy your caffeine. We'll see you soon. There goes Bart. All right, so time to say hi to everybody and go through the comments. I hope I have posted appropriately footballcontentawards.com/voting. So vote early, vote often, because once again, 50% of the coefficient has to do with the popular vote, and this is where I think the other 9 cancel each other out. They don't know the power of the SDH network and the SDH family. They don't know the power of it. So I posted it in the Discord, and I've now posted it in the Twitch pitch timeline, and I'm going to be real obnoxious about it between now and October 13th. So vote. Footballcontentawards.com/voting. The fact that we are in this final 10 is amazing in and of itself. The big names that are in this final 10 are insane. And the fact that we are in it is just as insane. Profoundly blessed, all of us here, that we are part and parcel to this Football Content Awards finalist list. It's just insane to think about. It truly is. But anyway, vote. Tell your friends. Find different IP addresses, as Bart told you how you could go about doing things. But yeah, 50% of the vote is judges. 50% of the vote is the popular vote. And I think the popular vote is where we can make a difference when it comes to going up against the other 9. So there it is. All right, let's say hi to everybody and who is in, and find out how safe everyone is and what everyone's going through, because I know it was a long night in a bunch of places. Bam in early this morning. Happy grand final eve. Who's going to win, the Swans or Brisbane? I think the Swans are on top, have been on top of the table for most of the season, or higher up in the table than Brisbane. I think Brisbane had to make a run through the playoffs to get into the final. So grand final, I'm gonna stick with the favorite in the Sydney Swans. Michael. All right, Michael's done math. Michael, God bless you for saying it's a 5-iron away from Office HD. 8.3 inches in the last 24 hours, over 11.5 in the last 48 at the Casa de Michael and Sherry. 5-iron away. It is, Abby, it is the broadcaster rights holder category. So, and you can vote for all the others. You can look at them and vote for things if you really listen to soccer content and all that kind of stuff. So it is the best media organization broadcaster rights holder. It is best media organization. So here, let me show you the category. Let me get into StreamYard here. Hang on just a second. There. So that's the link to the actual page with our finalists that are attached to it. And yeah, the listing in and of itself is insane. Prime, BBC, Golasso Network, DAZN, ESPN FC, ITV, Sky, TalkSport, TNT, which used to be BT Sports and Us. Yeah, it's nuts. And like I said, their write-up, it was very, very kind. Let's see. Based in Atlanta, Georgia, the SDH Network offers a unique mix of football content, including live broadcasts, talk shows, and in-depth interviews, specializing in all levels of the sport from professional to high school. SDH has expanded its offerings with the launch of SDH2, a new platform for live event distribution. The network's commitment to covering all aspects of football, combined with its growing audience, makes it a standout content provider in the U.S. market. Holy ish. Very humbling of them to say that. Yeah, because ESPN also they've laid off their big basketball writer yesterday or 2 days ago, which was dumb. But yeah, here in Decatur, 8.3 in the last 24, over 11.5 in the last 48, a 5-iron away from Office HD. And watching on the Big 55, Felicia Combs is in Asheville, and Asheville and Boone are getting hit really hard. And remember, they're in mountains, and so everything goes and funnels into the city. So keep an eye out for your friends up in the Appalachians. Christopher Abel, how much was Atlanta's training affected this week? Do you think it'll hurt us on Saturday? That's a good question. If Jason can join us this morning, I will defer to him because he and Maddie are spending all the time up at the Children's Health Care of Atlanta training ground. So we will put a bookmark in that question, Christopher. I like that. Bam. Last time these two teams played each other in a grand final was in 1899 when they were the South Melbourne Swans and the Fitzroy Lions. See, I remember Fitzroy as Fitzroy. That's how old I am. I remember Fitzroy. Morning, Harry. And bam, if you're told to leave, leave. Yes. Abby, hope all are well with the storms. Ropes checking in. Outside the perimeter in Powder Springs, very wet, but otherwise good. Abby, we all lucked out with Helene going east of us. Yes. David, very little wind in the old Fourth Ward last night. This morning, wet, but no other issues. Agreeing with Abby. Abby says, I would have hoped they would have left yesterday before the storm so they can practice up there today. David, the thing about this, it seems most silly, is how the TV analyst does not understand the laws of the game. And that was why with Bart, I wanted to go through and I wanted to walk through the whole thing and take it a piece at a time, going from the laws of the game as they are written with the incident, and then go through it in each time. That's why I like to do reffing down here the way that we do it. So we have the laws of the game. Yes, we know they need to be fixed. But in this case, with the laws of the game as they currently stood, how does this go through the play and what do you have to look at? So that's why I want to go through these kinds of things piecemeal, and we devote the time to do it. Literally, it's like we'll devote the time to sit here and do it and go bing, 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 and walk through the steps instead of sitting there and making a snap decision of something. You see an event, you see something happen in a game state, and you're like, 15-second snap reaction. No. We're going to take the time. We're going to walk through it, look at the law of the game applied, and explain why something is the way it is. Yes, the laws need to be changed probably in a lot of the situations that we discuss, but what we wanted to do is sit there and go A, B, C, D, E, and this is why. That's why we have Bart come on consistently and have him walk through everything as someone who uses a whistle and wears the bumblebee outfit when it comes to reffing. Abby, morning. My son didn't understand why I packed the freezer full of ice, filled up the tub with water. Has no clue what it's like going through a hurricane and not having power for a while. Ice again, and we could put stuff from the freezer outside and it would have stayed cold. Absolutely. All right. So, yeah, and I'm going to go a little bit more in depth into Darren, go through what happened, the Newcastle release and everything. And Abby's like, very few know about learning how to drive a standard vehicle. That is true. Bam. So what Bart is saying is keepers can't say insert basketball quote here. Correct. But yes, and both teams have the opportunities, Ropes. Morning, Alex. The Chicago dumpster fire, and Bam, at times you're being offensive to dumpsters by calling them the dumpster fire. Bam, yeah, we talked about the West Cam, like when you have a helicopter that's covering a news story, there's a brand name for the helicopter that it's just under the nose of the helicopter, the one that spins and does all. It's a West Cam, WEST. And so that's what we need. That's the camera that you see on the slide at track and field events, like doing the final 100 meters or the 100 meters sprint. That's a West Cam on a rail. So if you did a West Cam on a rail and you attached it to the chips of the racers, You could gauge that 100 meters and see what's going on. Same principle, I guess, you could do with football and offside and things like that. Bart's bothers. Yeah, well, we need to come up with a T-shirt or anything like that. I think we're all bothered with it. Abby posted the interview with Darren and the quotes. Stephen Bradbury. I'll have to see now. All right, so now I got to go and find out what Bam was talking about with Stephen Bradbury. If I could type Australia, then I could do it. All right, so Stephen Bradbury. The lesson for today involving Stephen Bradbury. Oh, short track speed skater, 4-time Olympian. First athlete to win from the Southern Hemisphere to win a Winter Olympic medal. Also part of the short track relay team that won Australia's first Winter Olympic medal. 1994 Winter Olympics, 98 Olympics, 2002. Legacy, unlikely win turned him into a folk hero. Held him as an example of the value of an underdog never giving up, regardless of the odds against them. Absolutely true. Yeah, we are the underdog. We ain't never given up. That's definitely true. So, but yes, and thank you for that, Bam. Let's see. And Abby emptied the bathtub a little bit ago. Rain's done. Helene's moving on. Yeah, organization. Organization, remember, yes. Organization. ORGANISATION. Michael's been logging rainfall daily for 18 years. Never had this much rain in one 24 or 48-hour period. Yikes. Abby, very cool. Abby's proud to announce the hubby won 2 Emmys Wednesday night for documentary work. Nicely done. And, yeah, I mean, SDH has won the Davy Award back-to-back years. I think we're up for a Davy again this year for what was the category? We've won silver for 2 years in a row from the AIVA for podcast. Atlanta Press Club recognized the SDH Network for best podcast 2 years ago. So yes, this would be the next stage, and it would be epic. But yeah, so you have until dinner time, October 13th, to find folks to vote in the organization category. Abby's like lots of rain. We had flooding where a school in Cobb ended underwater. It was also a lot of rain in a quick time frame. Yikes. Okay, the news on Darren in full, and this is there's no other way to really say it. It's crappy. So Darren is stepping away from his duties, and Newcastle has put up an interview 4 minutes long about Darren and him stepping away. Darren says he's feeling great. Obviously, it was a decision he took for his family, his health, in terms of the future. But quote, as things stand at the moment, very fine, and it's very much business as usual. So then Darren, there's a 4-minute interview with Darren sitting down, having questions asked. So stepping down from his position after being diagnosed with a chronic form of blood cancer, will continue to lead the club's executive team until a successor is appointed. So obviously all of our love and feelings, best vibes go to Darren, his family, and everybody associated with Newcastle. Newcastle on the flip side, on the field, and a new contract with Anthony Gordon. Understand it will be valid until June of 29, a 5-year contract. And so Anthony Gordon will be in line with highest earners with the new contract ready for Anthony Gordon this morning. So, the Darren's news is making the 280 character app, and it's pretty much for those who follow football. It is what is it sucks that Darren and his family are having to go through it, but obviously we send all of our love to Darren and his family there at Newcastle. It appears, once again, shocking no one, that re-emphasizing what we've talked about in the past, and Kaylor Hodges has come on to talk about it with Danny Cruz being considered for the all-caps gig in addition to John Hackworth. So keep an eye on the St. Louis City SC gig, Hackworth, Danny Cruz, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Tommy Scoops is falling in line with us in the conversations that we've had involving Danny Cruz, where to go, and what possibly could be his next gig, unless he's happy in Louisville and just wants to continue to turn Louisville into a mammoth operation in USL Championship, winning everything, and basically like, yeah, come and get me, and come and get Lou City. Dame Maggie Smith has also passed away at the age of 89, which also sucks this morning too. Pep Guardiola has confirmed that Rodri is out for the season. Rodri is out for the year. After going to see the doctor in Barcelona on Monday, Rodri's season is over after undergoing surgery on the ACL. Quoting Pep, next season he will be here, but this season is over for him. So that is the news involving Rodri. I will be intrigued how Manchester City attacks what is going on with that absence, and does it mean more John Stones? Does it mean formation change? Does it mean more Ilkay Gundogan? We will always see. We'll always get the chance to see what Pep Guardiola now has in mind involving Rodri now that he's out for the year. Calvin Phillips, Nathan Broadhead, Harry Clark look like they could be in for McKenna and Ipswich this weekend. Heung-min Son had a press conference, said he has not been given a contract offer, extension, discussion, anything like that involving a future for him. So once again, you've got Rodri out for the season. No release clause, according to Ben Jacobs and Anthony Gordon's new 6-year deal, although Bruno Guimarães' extension did have one. Newcastle are generally opposed to inserting release clauses. So, that's the early news involving the Premier League this weekend. Let's go through the juice boxes on the Prem before we get into weekend whip around, let you know what's going on. And if there's any other news, we got to let you know what you're watching, how to watch it, all the other gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Actually, tell you what, we'll do Premier League odds. We'll do juice boxes in Major League Soccer. We'll go through the broadcast crews, the officiating crews, and we'll go through the weekend and get you ready for all that stuff. So what was I looking up briefly? I was looking up the Premier League juice boxes. So Premier League juice boxes for the weekend, and now that they are all back now that they're all back in England and the broadcast crews back in Connecticut, everything can get back to normal. And we got to talk about the Club World Cup too, because I got a list of things. Miami and CONCACAF have announced their locations. Looks like Luchin is being considered full-time for the gig at FC Dallas. Nancy Armour has an update on Rory Dames that we got to get into. So there's newsy stuff. So here we go. Early matchup tomorrow in the Premier League. Newcastle hosting Manchester City. Manchester City's favored at a -167. You have 5 matches at 10 o'clock. Arsenal, big favorite at home against Leicester. Leicester, by the way, for Bard is a +1420 to win. Brentford, slight favorite at the G-Tech at home against West Ham at a +124. Chelsea on the minus side at a -133, hosting Brighton at a +333. Everton, a home dog, slight at a +175. Crystal Palace a +166. Draws a +239. And Nottingham Forest hosting Fulham at City Ground. Forest is a +141. Fulham a +212. And your draw is a +235. Your late game, Liverpool at the Molineux. And there's just as reports out with Gary O'Neill and the Wolves ownership, and the Wolves ownership saying that we ain't going anywhere. We're still going to be investing in the club. That might be news to O'Neill. Wolves a +791 at home against Liverpool. Liverpool is a -312. Sunday, 2 games. Ipswich is hosting Villa at a +320. Villa on the road a -114. Manchester United hosting Spurs. Manchester United a +139. Tottenham is a +177. Monday Night Football, 3 o'clock. Bournemouth hosting Southampton. Probably a must-win game for Bournemouth, taking out teams that should be below them in the standings all season long. Bournemouth a -152 at the Vitality. Southampton is a plus 395. So that's your juice boxes in the Premier League. So let's get you into gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and what is going on today. And no, do not look at Mihailo Mudrik's photo because that's an outdated photo. Liverpool has moved their interests into Mark Gahey. Apparently, Gahey would jump at the chance to sign for Liverpool and not long-term admirers Newcastle. Liverpool are not interested in making a £100 million move for Florian Wirtz at Bayer Leverkusen. United and City are keen on Jeremy Frimpong at Leverkusen. Newcastle, once again, we mentioned Anthony Gordon. That's now checked off the board with a 6-year deal. Liverpool would have to help finance the Gordon deal by selling England defender Joe Gomez to Newcastle in a separate £45 million transaction. So keep that in mind. Was the signing of Gordon just to control the asset to flip him at a future time to Liverpool? Arsenal also were chasing, but they didn't get him. That's according to the 3-letter paper. Trent Alexander-Arnold's first choice is to sign a new deal with Liverpool when the fullback is out of contract next summer. Should he agree to a new contract at Anfield, Real Madrid will turn their attention to Diogo Dalot. Also, Chelsea made several approaches to AC Milan in the summer about Mikey Magnon, but were put off by the valuation of €80 million, £67 million. Real Madrid, keeping an eye on the progress of Nico Paz at Como, may activate a buyback clause for the 20-year-old Argentina youth international if he continues to impress for the Serie A side. Erik ten Hag is on borrowed time at Manchester United, according to Team Talk, who are actively looking at candidates to replace him. Ten Hag faces a make-or-break week, according to the 4-letter paper. Fixtures against Spurs, Porto, and Aston Villa. Former Manchester United boss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, according to the 4-letter, would, quote, say yes every day of the week if asked to return to Old Trafford as a manager. And Sean Dyche has made it clear he wants to remain as Everton manager after the club's takeover and lead them into their new stadium. Of course, the new owners, the Friedkin Group, might have other ideas. So that is your gossip, rumor, and innuendo this morning involving the Premier League. All right, Major League Soccer. We'll get into juice boxes coming up in just a sec. So the refereeing assignments and your broadcast crews, I mentioned that we wanted to get into that before we get into the matchups themselves. MLS assignments for week 35. And the MLS Next Pro assignments are out as well. So we'll read into the Atlanta United 2 matchup against the Philadelphia Union 2. That is coming up once again Sunday afternoon. And it is 2:30 pregame, 3:03 kick from Chester, Pennsylvania for the season finale for Atlanta United 2. FC Cincinnati and LAFC. Ismir Pekmic is the man in the middle. Mark Allerton, your fourth. Kevin Terry Jr. is your VAR. DC and Columbus. Rubiel Vasquez is in the middle. Jeff Gamble is your VAR. Messi and friends at the Erector Set hosting Charlotte. Get Remy Touchon in the middle. Chris Penso is your fourth. Carol-Anne Chenard is your VAR. And remember last week, Carol-Anne Chenard was attached to one of the more egregious reffing down here discussions we had where they didn't even want to take a call to VAR and didn't even want to look at it. You might remember the match. If I'm not mistaken, it was the one that was at Red Bull Arena. CF Montreal hosting the Earthquakes, and they gave it to Armando Villarreal. Or Alejandro Mariscal is your VAR. Revs in Nashville, Marcus de Oliveira is the man in the middle. Soren Stoichka is your VAR. Hudson River at Red Bull Arena, Tori Penso in the middle. David Barry is your VAR. Philadelphia and Atlanta, Fotis Bazakas is the man in the middle. Adam Winkowski is your AR number 1. AR2, Gerard Cater-Lebuy. Luis Diego Arroyo is your 4th. JC Rivero is your VAR. Robert Schapp is your AVAR. Austin and RSL, Lucas Zapala is in the middle. Edvin Jurasevich is your VAR. Chicago hosting Toronto, Ricardo Montero is in the middle. Corey Rockwell and Brian Dunn are your ARs. Victor Rivas, your 4th. Daniel Radford is your VAR. FC Dallas and Orlando City, the purple team, comes to Toyota. They get Jair Marufo in the middle. And it is Ismail Elfath as your VAR. Mike Camp Minert is your AVAR. It is Minnesota, Colorado. Lorenzo Hernandez is in the middle. That's a new name. Sergi Boyko is your 4th. Kevin Stott is your VAR. All caps and sporting in the I-70 Derby. Guido Gonzalez Jr. is the man in the middle. Brooke Mayo and Walt Heatherly are your ARs. Philip Duyich is your fourth. Jorge Gonzalez and Joseph Batko, VAR and AVAR. Seattle and Houston, Alan Chapman in the middle. Jeff Gamble's your VAR. Vancouver and Portland, it is Joe Dickerson. My apologies. The man in the middle, Malik Badawi, is your fourth. Yunus Marakchi is your VAR, and that is your assignments for week 35 in Major League Soccer for your assignments there. Remember, getting into the one match in MLS Next Pro involving Atlanta United 2, Philadelphia Union 2, 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon. Philadelphia Union 2, they are in a bit of a fight right now at the top of the Eastern Conference in MLS Next Pro. They are chasing FC Cincinnati 2, and it's next weekend is the last regular season weekend in MLS Next Pro. You've got more teams that have made the postseason right now in the Western Conference than you have involving the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference has a couple that are attached, but there are more teams in the Western Conference right now that have made the playoffs. And once again, you can pick your first round opponent. So if you're like number 1, you can take number 8 if you want. 2 can pick 7, and then 2 can pick from the remainder, 3 can pick from the remainder, and then 4 is stuck with whomever's left. So that will be that's one of the tricks that did not work well in season number 1 of doing that at MLS Next Pro. It is for Crew 2. Marie Durr will be in the middle. Justin Lopez and Joseph Knopf are your ARs. Nikrod Fateh will be your fourth. So that's your crew for the matchups at Subaru Park involving Philadelphia Union 2 and Atlanta United 2. So the broadcast crews for the matchups all weekend long. And we go once again to our friends at MLS Communications because they post these things. And it is, as I scan down the friggin' list and got a bunch of things involving cups and folks that have won things. All right, your announcers. Kanji and Danny are in Cincinnati for the matchup against LAFC. Neil Sika, Lloyd Sam in D.C. for the matchup against Crew. Keith and Mo come across the country, and they are at the Erector set as Messi and Friends host Charlotte. Remember that you can also listen to Willie P. and Jess at WFNZ, and you can set your notifications in your phone and your apps appropriately. Eric Krakauer, Jalil Alibaba are in Montreal for San Jose and Montreal. Nate Bacady, Devin Kerr are in Foxborough for the matchup against Nashville. Callum and Kalen get Hudson River. Tony Husband, Ross Smith, you can catch up the interview that they did with Ross Smith over at Scarves and Spikes and find out and see if they got any Tony Husband dirt. So Tony Husband, Ross Smith, they're doing Philadelphia Union and Atlanta United. Max and Dunny are in Austin for RSL and Los Verdes. It is Tyler and Kendra in Chicago for Toronto and Chicago Fire. Mark Followell gets a home game. Warren Barton travels to Toyota for the Purple Team in FC Dallas. Rogo and Heath Pierce are in Minnesota for the Loons and Colorado Rapids. Jake Ziven, Taylor Twellman. Color Me Shock gets a matchup in St. Louis, so TT gets a home game for the I-70 Derby. Rodolfo Landeros, Mariano Trujillo get Seattle and Houston Dynamo. And it is Blake Price and Paul Dolan who get to call Cascadia with Portland visiting Vancouver. So that is your announcer announcements for those particular games this weekend. Let's get you into the juice boxes and let you know what's going on. Yeah, Wiley, it took me a minute. I was processing it in my head. Wiley's like, you remembered I-70? And I was trying to think, okay, what was the interstate? What did he say? I-70. Yeah, so I finally remembered that one. All right, your juice boxes involving the teams from this weekend. And it is CF Montreal and San Jose at Stade Saputo. Traditionally, very, very tough place to play. Jared has been there. He would know. And so you're looking at a minus 119 on the board for CF Montreal hosting San Jose. San Jose, remember, our friends at Gimme Sport had the 4 names that were listed. San Jose is at a plus 280. Your draws at a plus 297. I want to go through these names again, and it goes to the discussion that we were having with Bart and the owners there of the Oakland A's. So here is what the skinny is involving the coaches that were interviewed apparently as a part of the discussion involving San Jose. But my first thought involving San Jose, why would you go? Considering everything, why would you go? Why would you go? Why would you go and be a part of that mess that's currently going on right now? Why? Why? Tommy Scoops has these 4 names: Bruce Arena, Greg Berhalter, Gio Savarese, Robin Frazier, plus interim coach Ian Russell. So they've interviewed all 5. If I'm Bruce Arena, I mean, seriously, if I'm any of those names, maybe short of Ian Russell, I'm going to ask for player control. I'm going to ask to be the double title. And I'm going to ask for financial commitment from John Fisher. And as evidenced by the lack of investment or interest or whatever word you want to use, if I am one of those 5 individuals or 4, and I'm guessing that Ian Russell, considering he understands what he has in front of him, if I'm any one of those 4 individuals and I see what San Jose is currently, why would I go? Because if John Fisher seems to be distracted by his baseball team and trying to get them to Sacramento, where they have yet to approve, the MLB Players Association has yet to approve the baseball stadium and the venue for the Sacramento baseball team that is going to be playing in Major League Baseball. They've yet to approve that. And I mean, you've got a while. So, I mean, just at the moment, John Fisher is going to be moving his Oakland A's to be playing in Sacramento. They're not going to have a nickname, I don't think. And the fact that at one of your first press conferences in Sacramento, you promote the fact that instead of talking about your young core, you talk about the excitement that you have about Aaron Judge coming to town. If that is what you're staring at involving the baseball side with John Fisher, why would you, if you're one of those four big names that have apparently interviewed for this position, why would you be interested other than perhaps, getting a paycheck? Why would you go? Seriously, why would you go? Right now, and I'll go back to our friends at the MLS Players website. I wanted to look at the salary guide for the players that are on hand in San Jose. So let's see about the amount of money that's being invested in players in San Jose right now. I don't want to download the PDF version. And this is as of April 25th of this year. So January, February, March, April. So 5 months ago, MLS Players, the Players Association released the salaries of everyone in Major League Soccer. So looking at everyone who is you have 3 players, 7 figures or more. Bruno Wilson's base salary is $1 million. Guaranteed compensation 1.18 or 1.118. You have Carlos Gruezo, base salary of $1,460,000, guaranteed comp $1,681,86. And then you have Christian Espinoza, whose guaranteed compensation is just over $2 million, base salary of 1.82. You got a couple that are close. Oh, and Jeremy Ebobisi's guaranteed compensation goes from a base is $850 at basically $860. Guaranteed comp puts him over $1 million. Everyone else in guaranteed compensation, $595, $105. Tanner Beeson's $300. Mikolai Begansky's at $104. Waseni Buddha $127.5, and this is guaranteed comp. This is everything into the checking account. Vitor Costa $388. Chance Cal is on a rookie deal, so it's $71. Daniel De Souza Brito at $425. Ebobisi just over $1 million. Christian Espinoza just over $2 million. Carlos Carrizo basically at $1.7. Preston Judd $89.7. Benji Kikanovich at $328. JT Marcinkowski $400. Paul Marie at $322. Cruz Medina $128. Edwin Mendoza $83.8. Alfredo Morales $335.5. Daniel Mooney rookie deal. Emmanuel Ochoa $170. Amal Pellegrino $912.5. Will Richmond $89.7. Jamar Ricketts just over a rookie deal. That's his base salary. He does have some guaranteed comp for like $1,500. You have De Oliveira at $708. Jack Scahan at $108. 150. Tommy Thompson, 89.716. Nico Sekiris at 114 plus. Oscar Verhoeven at 103 plus. Casey Walls, 203 plus. Bruno Wilson, 1.118. William Yarborough in net at 385. And Jackson Ewell, guaranteed compensation, 936,875. So, I mean, they've got 4 or 5 players that are bouncing around 7 figures. But considering what we have seen from San Jose, if I were those 4 names on the list, why would I go? Messi, I gave you the base salary and the guaranteed compensation, and then when I went through all the other numbers, it was the guaranteed comp, everything into the checking account. Messi, since Abby has asked, Messi, I think it was 20? So let me get to, Messi's base is 12. Guaranteed compensation, $20,446,000. So basically, it's a 3-year deal. 3-year deal at 60. 20.4 times 3 is 61.2. Yeah, so basically, it's a 3-year, $62-ish million deal. 61, 62, somewhere in there. Base for Messi is 12. Guaranteed comp, $20,446,667. So it's a 3-year deal. So multiply that by 3, and that's what his deal was, like 61.2 or something like that. So that's what you're looking at with the Moss brothers and investing in the Gulfstream Galacticos versus John Fisher and what he's doing or not doing involving San Jose. So if I was any one of those 4 big names and I was staring at San Jose currently, I would want assurances. And I would want assurances before I would even ask to sit there and say, yeah, we're serious. Let's get to the table. And I want to draw up a deal. I want to know you're serious. I want to know you're going to invest. I want to know you're going to want to invest in players, and you're going to trust me in my judgment when it comes to these players, their value, their worth, and what we need to chase after when it comes to on the field. You're going to have 3 of those dudes, I would venture, if not all 4, taking Ian Russell out of the discussion. They're going to want player control, and they're going to want to stare at John Fisher and the general manager and sit there and go, look, we need these guys. We need to pay this much, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I need those kind of assurances if I'm any one of those 4 names. Ian Russell knows what he's dealing with, so he might be able to navigate it. If John Fisher doesn't want to invest any further and is content with the level of his investment in his Major League Soccer franchise, which is turning really into the Pittsburgh Pirates of Major League Soccer, and Rowdy Tellez is another thing entirely. But you're looking at John Fisher, and it's like, okay, well, I need A, B, C, D, E if I'm any one of those first 4 names. I don't know if you get A, B, C, D, E. So I would anticipate for the time being that San Jose is just going to be San Jose. It's not going to be pretty, and it will continue not to be when it comes to Major League Soccer. In the standings right now, worst in the West, and I know I've gone on a San Jose tangent, I'm sorry. Worst in the West by a fair poke, as we say here in the Southeast. 18 points in 30 matches, 522 in 3, and in 30 matches, you've given up 69 goals. Nice. 30 into 69, 9 into 30. So it's 2.3 goals allowed per match. You've scored 37. So 7 over 30, 30 to 70. So it's 2.23. So you've scored, is that right? 1.23. 1.23 to 2.3. Basically, you're outscoring literally by a goal a match. And what you've given up. 522 and 3, you've scored 37 goals. You're 311 and 1 at home and 211 and 2 on the road. Unless I'm getting assurances of investment, I don't know why I would touch that with anybody's 10-foot pole, including my own. So it would be a 20-foot pole, and I wouldn't touch it. But those are the names right now that apparently have interviewed with John Fisher. And all you've got to do, I would say, is look at what's going on in Oakland with the A's. And that should give you an example of John Fisher and where his priorities are. His priority is actually getting to Vegas. And shoot, it wouldn't surprise me, now that I think about it. Keep this in mind. The facility that's built in Vegas, if it gets that far, what do you want to bet that Fisher kicks the tires on moving the Quakes? And I'm not saying like now, but 3, 4, 5 years down the line, when that facility starts to get built, how big is it? Is it multi-purpose? Is it just a baseball stadium? Food for thought. Literally, food for thought. Just kind of hang on to it. And so in 2027 or 8, maybe just kicking the tires on that. All right. That was a lot on San Jose and Montreal. That was a lot. DC plus 174 at home against Crew. Crew is probably going to be rotated. Maybe. Who knows? Wolford Nancy at a plus 133. With the roster as deep as he is, you sit there and you look at a starting 11. You're like, okay. The starting, let's get into the starting 11 that he had in the Campeones Cup final, just to kind of get a gauge. And once again, set your fantasy teams. Set your fantasy teams. Set your fantasy teams. Set your fantasy teams. All right, so the starting lineups for Crew in the 3-4-2-1, 3-4-3, whatever it is until the ball is kicked. Schulte in net, back three, left to right. Amundsen, Camacho, and Steven Moreira. Midfield, Max Arfston, Darlington Nagme, Sean Zawatsky, Mo Farsi. And you had Rossi, Cucho, and C-Ram as your starters. Jason Russell Rowe came in. You got Jones, Yeboah, Russell Rowe, AZ Jackson, who I think is probably going to get a start. Then you had DeJuan Jones, you had Derek Jones, Alexandru Matan, Shaberko, Hagen, Chambois, and Herrera. So you look at the bench, you're like, yeah, okay, sure, those are dudes that he has used in general. So when we talk rotation and roster rotation involving Columbus, not necessarily the same thing. Not necessarily the same thing. So we'll see. David says Vegas has so many venues, concert, boxing, etc. The baseball stadium can't possibly much more than be just baseball. I know. And the Lights in USL Championship have invested in their franchise, and they're doing really well at Cashman. Cashman's been renovated. You can tell there's some more Vegas-y bells and whistles. And hey, it's amazing what happens when you invest in a product. John Fisher needs to look at what Jose Bautista and his other owners are doing with Vegas Lights right now. They're north of the playoff bar in the Western USL Championship. Let's see. FC Cincinnati and LAFC. FC Cincinnati on the minus side at a minus 115. Draws plus 287. LAFC is a plus 279. We mentioned lineups. And LAFC, after having won Open Cup, what do? Their lineup against Peter Vermes and Sporting Kansas City, did in fact include the most handsome man in Major League Soccer. He was out there for a while. Larissa, Net, Long, Chanot, and Segura, your back three. Hollingshead, O'Brien, Tillman, and Palencia, your midfield four. Bouanga, Giroux, and Bogish, A, B, and C up top. So that's your top three. So what will Steve Cherundolo do? That will be a question for this matchup against Cincinnati. That's why they were plus 279 coming out of the midweek, and it was a late game in the midweek. At the Erector Set in Fort Lauderdale, Messi and friends hosting Charlotte at a minus 192. Your draw's a plus 375. Charlotte's a plus 430. The Revs, even money plus 100 hosting Nashville. Draws a plus 263. Nashville's a plus 249. Will there be more fights on the field involving players for the Revs? We'll see. Hudson River, Red Bulls are a plus 112. Draws a plus 267. NYC's a plus 218. I like the draw and something over 3.5. Philadelphia, Atlanta. Philadelphia's a minus 132. Atlanta is a plus 301. Your draw's a plus 324. Austin, hosting RSL at a plus 136. Draws a plus 263. RSL is a plus 181. Fire plus 106. Hosting Toronto FC. Toronto's a plus 240. Your draw's a plus 262. Dallas a plus 140. Draw against Orlando City is a plus 250. I imagine Orlando got out of Central Florida okay. They probably flew into the Gulf and just went around because you saw the one private jet that flew in through Helene heading toward Middle Florida. I don't know if that was the Wilfs or anybody, but yeah, one private jet was literally flying through Helene. It's like you see the spotter plane. This is like on FlightAware. You see the private jet heading to Middle Florida. Wes Blankenship with the line of the day saying that the Florida coaching search really is serious. And then you had the spotter plane for the Coast Guard looking in the same space. My guess is that the purple team got out of there, or they waited until today, and they're flying out today for the matchup in Dallas. Once again, Dallas a plus 140. Draws a plus 250. Orlando City is a plus 183. Abby, be good, be safe. Absolutely. And that was one of the other reasons, like I said, one of the other reasons that I wanted to be on if we had power today is so we could converse with one another, let everybody know how we are, if we need help or anything like that, and be safe and in general. Minnesota United hosting Colorado at a minus 102, 840 kick. 294, and then Colorado to win a plus 239. I like that number. I really like that number. The I-70 Derby, all caps are a minus. See, Wiley? I mentioned it again. I-70 Derby, St. Louis, all caps, City SC is minus $1.25. Sporting coming off of playing in the midweek late is a plus 283, and draw is a plus 313. For Sporting, it was first choice. Melia in net. In Dembe, Voladair, it was Robert Castellanos and Kyrie Shelton, your back four. I call it a 4-2-3-1. The two in front were Zorhan Basong and Jake Davis. In the attack, left to right, Shallowy, Eric Tommy, Johnny Russell, and then Alan Polito was up top. The bench had Memo Rodriguez, Pulskamp, your backup keeper, Remy Voltaire, Willie Agata. It was Tim Liebold, Danny Rosero, and Steven Afrifa was your bench for Sporting Kansas City in that particular matchup. So what will Sporting look like? Don't know. But that will be the question heading into that particular match. Also, it is Seattle and Houston. Seattle's a minus 128. Your draw's a plus 272, and Houston is a plus 345. Vancouver is one of the late games. Minus 109. Portland is a plus 238, and your draw is a plus 312. That is the rundown of everything in Major League Soccer on the weekend when it comes to juice boxes. Once again, Philly and Atlanta. Let's get into the standings just so everybody knows where things are involving Eastern Conference, Western Conference, the races to get in, the races for positioning, the races to stay, all of that stuff. Eastern Conference in Major League Soccer. Messi and friends are 8 points clear with 4 matches to go. Cincinnati's at 56. Columbus is also, but they have a match in hand. They win, they get to 17 wins, and they would have a better goal difference. Right now, it's plus 14 for Columbus. Columbus right now is in third because they have 16 wins. Red Bulls at 44 points, 30 matches played. That's your top 4. Then this is where the fun starts, at least in group number 2. Your first chase pack. Red Bulls at 44 points. Orlando is at 43, 12 wins. Charlotte and NYC are identical records after 30, 11, 11, and 8. Charlotte is plus 3 in goal difference. That's why they're 6th. NYCFC is in 7th. Then the third group, 6 teams separated by 3 points to get into the playoffs. Toronto, Philadelphia, both at 36 points. Toronto has 11 wins. Philadelphia has 9. If Philadelphia was to make up that difference, Toronto, by the way, has played 31 matches. They only have 3 to go. If Philadelphia was to make up the win total, and they've got 4 matches to do it, they would have a far better goal difference if they were tied with Toronto in wins. Right now, Toronto's goal difference is a minus 17. Philly is the last team that is in the playoffs right now in the 8-9 at 9, 12, and 9, 36 points. Montreal, first team below the bar, 34 points. They come to Atlanta in the midweek. Yes, I know it was somewhat surreal with the lineup that they could be bringing to Montreal. And that's going to be an odd taping day for us. We might have to tape some things and do some power hours, do something a little early. I've got a GPB commitment that I have early on Wednesday, so it'll be probably taped material or an early power hour, maybe coming on at 8, doing a power hour and some tape material to go with hour number 2. So we'll see what happens, but next Wednesday is going to be a little weird. Atlanta right now, 33 points. Nashville, 33 points. DC, 33 points. All have played 30 matches. All are at 8, 13, and 9. Atlanta has the by far better goal difference. Nashville's only scored 29 goals in 30 matches this year, by the way. Atlanta minus 4, Nashville's at minus 15, DC's minus 17. Chicago Fire, 31 matches, 3 matches to go. They're at 29 points. And then New England has 2 matches in hand on Chicago, 1 on the rest of the pack. They're at 28 points through 29 matches. And so that's the Eastern Conference for you. Western Conference, 3 teams are already in the playoffs. LAG, RSL, and the Rapids. LAG has 58 points, 7 points clear of Salt Lake. Salt Lake has a match in hand. Colorado's at 50 points. They have a match in hand on LAG. Salt Lake only has 14 wins, though. They have 9 draws. LAFC is currently 4th, and they're a part of that first chase pack because if you look at it, 6 teams separated by 5 points and as many as 5 matches to go. LAFC and Vancouver, because of other commitments, have 5 matches to go. LAFC's Open Cup run, the Whitecaps Can Champ run, has gotten them to those numbers. So LAFC, 49 points, currently 4th. Match in hand on RSL and Colorado, 2 on LAG. So if LAFC takes care of business, they could go as high as 2nd. Houston, 48 points, they're in 5th. Seattle, 47 points, they're in 6th. Vancouver, 46 points, they are in 7th. But then you can kind of blend in Portland and Minnesota. Vancouver's also, once again, they've only played 29 matches. So 5 matches left for Vancouver, 5 for LAFC. Portland's at 44 points. Minnesota's at 42. That's your playoff bar right there. Then there's a gap. So in the Western Conference, it's about positioning. In the Eastern Conference, it's about getting in. You've got 3 groups, 2 and 3 chasing after Messi and friends. You have 4 through 7 chasing each other, and then the 8, 9, and everybody down below that. So 3 groups in the Eastern Conference, and you have really 2 groups in the Western Conference. Portland, Minnesota, 44 and 42 points, 5-point catch-up to FC Dallas, who's at 37. Austin FC's at 35. So 4 matches to go. Austin FC 7 points out of a playoff spot. Dallas is 5 points out of a playoff spot with 4 to go. Eliminated Kansas City, St. Louis. Sorry, St. Louis City SC. I forget where my accent is. Sporting is out at 31 points. The only reason that all caps are not out is because they've only played 30 matches. If they do not make any progress, they would have to win out, and 31 and 12 is 43. So anything above 43 points, St. Louis is out. But right now, they have 31 points, 2 less wins, and a worse goal difference than Sporting just going into the weekend. So all caps, 31 points, 30 matches, and then San Jose eliminated 18 points in 30 matches, 5-22 and 3. Thank you, John Fisher. So you've got that going into the weekend involving all of this. For Christopher Abel's question about Atlanta United, if you try and navigate the weather, and even if you don't, then you're doing film study. I know obviously it's not the same as going out there. You might be sloshing around in the rain a little bit. And so what I'm going to do is look on Atlanta United's social medias and see if they have any pictures. By the way, happy birthday to Arthur Blank. So trying to see if there's any kind of video when it comes to practice or anything. There is nothing from the last 4 days that the team would have had an opportunity to post involving Atlanta United going and practicing. So that's on the 280 character app. Let me go and check out what's going on with Atlanta United on the Insta, the Gram, or the IG, whatever the kids call it these days. So they have 6 new posts, and it is all the same posts. Let's see what we have. And if you haven't seen the unified matchup storyline from the matchup against Nashville, go and check that out. Absolutely go and check that out. So it looks like, and once again, so nothing was posted from the rain. So I don't know to what extent the rain might have either hurt or helped. But once again, if you're indoors, you're doing film study, you're doing regen, you're doing those kinds of things. And this time of year, that might not be a bad idea. And if you were doing stuff outside, you're also doing it in a place where you don't want to damage any equipment. So the biggest thing about Philly, and once again, it's a conversation that Jason and Joe had, is the idea of playing direct. And that's the key involving Atlanta United and their successes. Philadelphia, we know it's a 4-4-2. And we know what you want to do is with that 4-4-2. Well, first and foremost, with Philly, with Philadelphia, what you want to do, they're going to give you the middle of the field because of that 4-4-2, that diamond midfield. As I sit here and I look at myself with it, 4 diamond midfield and then 2 attackers. So then the first question for Atlanta is, do you want 3 at the back or 4? The emergence of Pedro Amador has done great work on the left-hand side. So you're going to be relying on your center backs a great deal. Does this mean that at the same time in that 4-4-2 that you have somebody laying back in a more defensive posture to help out those two center backs? And then that way you get your wing backs up forward with Brooks on the right and Pedro Amador on the left. So you're going to get the middle of the pitch. And it is being direct with your passing, find your target, bang, 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 bang. And then being clinical with your chances. Let me check Jonathan Tannenwald because I thought there was a question earlier in the week about Andre Blake and his availability. So let me see if there was anything that was posted there because I thought that he had given an update at one point. I don't know how far back it was. So let me check. Oh, yeah. And by the way, Messi and friends have qualified for CONCACAF, just as a piece of news. Qualified for the round one by securing a spot among the two next best clubs in the MLS Supporters Shield standings. They can still secure a bye to the round of 16 by winning MLS Cup. This will be the club's second appearance after it debuted in 23 when it reached the quarterfinals. So yes. Shocking everyone. Messi and friends have made it into the Triple C. Shocking no one. Like I said, I'm scanning Jonathan Tannenwald's, and we got to talk about Rory Dames too. And yeah, Lopetegui hurt his calf when he reacted to Somerville's chance at 3-1. So that was that was why he was running a little slow. We got to talk about the Gold Cup too. CONCACAF announcing the Gold Cup sites: Jerry World Q2, Bay Area, both Levi's and PayPal Park, Glendale, Houston. It is in Houston. It will be both Hell in a Shell and NRG. Vegas, LA is going to give you both SoFi and the Dignity Health Sports Park. Minneapolis is going to have inside US Bank, which is a bit of a shocker. San Diego is going to have it at Snapdragon, St. Louis at City Park, and Vancouver at BMO. So first-time selections, Minneapolis, San Jose, Vancouver. Those are your first-time selections. And then the Club World Cup venues probably will be announced in short order now that Gold Cup sites. Gold Cup was going to be West Coast, and then that way your Club World Cup venues, bigger venues, East Coast, majority television audience, those kinds of things. So keep an eye on that. And apparently, that's another thing about the Club World Cup where, according to Miguel Delaney, big conversations going on, and we'll get into that before we get out of here too. Big conversations amongst the clubs themselves and with FIFA about where the money's coming from for the tournament. So we'll see about that. Where is there any latest on Andre Blake? Because I thought that Blake had been held out of practice a couple of days. Yeah, so he did return in the 4-0 win. So I think everything, 90 minutes, 5 long balls, 4 saves, a high claim, 0.87 XG prevented for Andre Blake. So Blake is back between the sticks for Philly after being questionable at points coming up. But the biggest thing we know about Philadelphia, they're going to goad you into things. Chris, we do not know how they're determining the host country spot for the Club World Cup. MLS Supporters Shield, something else, probably just capacity. Multiple venues. And they're going to want to try to figure out, okay, where can we go? Probably the Meadowlands, Atlanta. So think big soccer stadia. You're probably going to be at the Erector Set down in Fort Lauderdale. So think East Coast and maybe some of the other Midwest cities like a Chicago or something like that where you play at Soldier Field. I would say New York, Philly, maybe the Link, Atlanta, the Erector Set, other venues that we think of in the East Coast for the Club World Cup and there might be a couple of wild cards in there too. So we'll figure out what that is. But so MLS Cup Supporter Shield, the Club World Cup is, hang on, let me get the available Club World Cup 2025 because they're the one Club World Cup thing. And okay, so here we go. Which teams have qualified and how qualification works? So we'll go back to September 5th and MLS soccer. There's a wild card spot in the Club World Cup. So 30 of the 32 have been confirmed. This is as of September 5th, so 3 weeks ago. June 15 to July 13. It is Al Ahly, Al Ain, Al Hilal, Atletico Madrid, Auckland City, Bayern Munich, Boca Juniors, Borussia Dortmund, Monterrey, Pachuca, Chelsea, Leon, Es Tunis from Tunisia, Porto, Salzburg, Flamengo, Fluminense, Inter Milan, Juve, Manchester City, Mamelodi Sundowns, Palmeiras, PSG, Real Madrid, River Plate, Sounders, who are the 2022 CONCACAF champions, Benfica, Ulsan from South Korea, Urawa Red Diamonds, and Vidad from Morocco. 2 major league teams will feature. Seattle guaranteed because of the CONCACAF Champions Cup title. Final slot allocated to a club from the host country. So 2 spots left, 2 Major League Soccer teams. One's Seattle, one's a wild card. Who do you want to bet the wild card's going to be? It's going to be Messi and friends, of course. If it's not, then there's something wrong. The way that it's listed by FIFA, and this is the fun part in all of this. So the guidelines, how many teams? Yeah, the host country gets 1 team. North and Central America and the Caribbean, 4 CONCACAF teams, all via the Champions Pathway, meaning the CONCACAF Champions Cup. All of the teams that we mentioned, 2 places still open at the tournament, filled as follows: a 2024 CONMEBOL Libertadores winner and 1 team from the host country. This is from the FIFA website. So basically, the host country, the thing, Chris, I don't even think you're going to need to think about a qualification method for the wild card spot. Because if it's not Inter Miami, then I don't know what MLS is thinking or FIFA, because you're going to want Messi and friends in the Gulfstream Galacticos in that tournament. So the wild card might be just lip service. And if that wild card spot is not Inter Miami, then something is wrong. You're going to want Inter Miami in that tournament. It's like Nathan Jessup. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. It will be Inter Miami, the wild card. It will. I will be stunned if it's not. Oh, no question. If it's Columbus, I'm right there with you. But for the sake, and this is, I guess this is me being jaded, thinking of things as TV programs now. Like I said, I think of Leagues Cup as a television program for Apple TV. I think of Leagues Cup as a television program, like Shrinking or Ted Lasso. Independent Miguel Delaney. So you end up with a wild card slot. And Delaney had an article about the Club World Cup. Like I said, I'm right there with you. I think Columbus would raise some hell. I think they'd do well in the tournament. But thinking of it like a television show, thinking of the Club World Cup like a television program, it is a mini-series. How do you draw the most eyeballs to a mini-series? Or to a television program and have that cliffhanger moment? Who shot JR? That's what you're working. You're working toward who shot JR. And then eventually finding out it was Kristen Shepard. You have your Bobby Ewing moment in the shower. Oh, morning, darling. I mean, literally, that's what this is. This is a television program. So to get the most eyes to a television program for that wild card slot, should it be? I mean, should it be Columbus? You'd like to think so. But The Champions Pathway, the CONCACAF Champions Cup, means that it's going to be Seattle. 4 CONCACAF teams, North and Central America and the Caribbean, via the Champions Pathway. Once again, qualifying through that Champions Pathway. Site can't be reached. Whatever. Stop it. Through the Champions Pathway in North and Central America, you're looking at Monterrey, Club Leon, Pachuca, Seattle Sounders. 3 in Mexico, 1 in the U.S. So that leaves you with that wild card spot. And we are going to have a discussion. Christopher says, I also find it problematic just to award a spot to Miami just because they have Messi. There needs to be some sort of qualification process, be it Shield or MLS Cup, that every team has a realistic shot at. Don't care about ratings, care about how MLS performs in the competition. Yes. No, I'm right there with you. But, and like I said, this is probably me being jaded and thinking about things like a television program. It should be Columbus because of what they've done in making deep runs into tournaments. Should be versus what it probably will end up being 2 different things, and it traditionally is. If it's Crew, fantastic. But to draw eyeballs to a Club World Cup, and like I said, I'll get to the Delaney article in just a sec, that there are issues funding the thing, the prize money. Should it be Columbus? Sure. Will it be? I doubt it. For that wild card slot. Miguel Delaney at the Independent. Some clubs that have qualified for the new Club World Cup have pushed FIFA to commit the body's own reserves to fund prize money for the controversial competition, with figures still not confirmed. Major competitors are expecting revenue of up to $50 million, given previous assurances from Gianni Infantino about numbers up to $80 million. If that came from the reserves, however, it would be totally unacceptable for the national member associations to give it to the wealthiest clubs. For FIFA's part, this is once again Miguel Delaney at the Independent. For FIFA's part, that prospect is being played down with announcements expected over the next few weeks. A widespread expectation is that the global body will eventually receive financial backing through Infantino's relationship with Saudi Arabia and Saudi national oil company Aramco, but there is surprise that hasn't been confirmed yet. Some football figures believe it almost reflects how transactional, in quotation marks, the relationship is amid a refusal to blink first. There is a view that Saudi Arabia don't want to commit until the 2034 World Cup is ratified. Either way, according to Delaney, storyline of how the Club World Cup will be funded is already one of the most important of the entire football season, even if it's largely behind the scenes. It might end up visible on the pitch and on the calendar. If FIFA can guarantee the kind of money that makes clubs treat it with the same importance as the Champions League, it is a potential game changer that could reshape football. Should it be Saudi Arabia that provides the backing too, it could integrate the kingdom into the sports infrastructure in the same way it's been witnessed in boxing and golf. Right now, though, the Club World Cup is feeling the effects of football structure rather than reshaping it. While clubs are expecting money on the one side, there's pressure from the European leagues and players' unions on the other, amid threats of legal action over the sheer volume of matches on the calendar. While FIFA would fairly point out none of these bodies are making the same complaints against the expanded Champions League, the counter-argument is that stakeholders were fully included in the planning stage for that. Specific complaint about FIFA is that it's acted unilaterally in devising this competition. That's a word that's been said again and again through the process. Delaney continues, FIFA only confirmed the Club World Cup host cities in a meeting last Friday, a mere 9 months before the competition planned to start on June 15 in the United States. The Guardian is said back on the 20th, and this is Matt Hughes, set to name 8 U.S. host venues for the Club World Cup. And the 32-team event will take place in NFL and MLS venues. According to Hughes, your Club World Cup venues: Pasadena, Seattle, Atlanta, Orlando, Miami, Philadelphia, and the 2 stadiums in New Jersey. I'm guessing that means Red Bull and the Meadowlands have been selected. And so FIFA is beset by rumors that the Club World Cup may have to be postponed. Confirmation of the venues will represent a major step forward for FIFA, who are understood to be hopeful. Some of them will be announced next week. They have yet to be announced this week, considering that this article by Matt Hughes came out a week ago. So that has not happened yet. As a result, FIFA have selected a combination of NFL and MLS venues, Meadowlands, Red Bull Arena. CONCACAF Gold Cup due to take place in a similar time. It's set to be in 2 venues on the West Coast, the Rose Bowl and Lumen Field. FIFA also in advanced talks with Hard Rock and Mercedes-Benz, as well as Inter & Co. in Orlando, and probably the Erector Set in Fort Lauderdale. FIFA have yet to decide which stadium will stage the final, could run a formal tender process between the host cities. So basically, what's it worth to you? World's governing body's next major challenge is to sell the TV rights to the tournament after a proposed global streaming deal with Apple collapsed earlier this year. Formal tender process for TV rights for 25 and 29 Club World Cups launched in July. FIFA have yet to receive any bids matching their valuation. Gianni Infantino and ECA Chairman Nasser Al-Khelaifi held a video conference with media executives earlier a week ago in an attempt to drum up interest. FIFA saith nothing. So according to Matt Hughes, Pasadena, Seattle, Atlanta, Orlando, Miami, Philadelphia, Red Bull, and the Meadowlands. So that's your 8. FIFA's at least closer on venues with the reveal of the trophy and the draw expected to take place in December. And so Delaney's article here, I'll give you the Delaney article on the Club World Cup while we're talking about it. Yeah, Yankee Stadium. God. Yeah, you ain't kidding, Chris. Don't like awarding a spot to a team that recently broke roster rules. Oh, rules. Rules, Chris. Come on. Come on. Rules were meant to be kind of like Joe Macknick in the laws of the game. Rules. Rules. We don't need rules. So that's where we are with that. So, yeah, the 32nd team is a wild card spot coming down to the host country to choose probably between Columbus and Messi and Friends. And knowing the television program, you're going to want eyeballs, which means Messi and Friends. As much as I would love to see Wilfred Nancy go up against 31 other heavyweights, not so sure that's going to happen as the 32nd team. If it does, I'll be pleasantly surprised. Oh, crap. All right. So what else do we have going on? What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. But yes, breaking rules is the EPL way. Let's go to what to watch today, where to watch it, how to watch it. And thanks to our friends at Soccer America to let us know about what's going on there. You got college all weekend long. You can catch that on the Plus. It is BN en Español, simulcasting Ligue 1, Auxerre and Brest, PSG and Rennes, doubleheader 1 and 3. ESPN Deportes, Valladolid, Mallorca at 3 o'clock. Fox Deportes, the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote, has a match in 7 minutes. Liga MX, Tigres León at 10 o'clock. Prime has the NWSL at 10. Angel City, LAFC activated a partial ownership stake from warrants that were issued over the use of BMO Field. And so now you have LAFC, part owner, don't know what the percentage is in Angel City. Angel City and Washington Spirit, 10 o'clock. I don't think Trinity Rodman, because of her back issues, is going to be available for this one. Next Pro, Season Pass, 9 o'clock. Los Verdos and the Vancouver Whitecaps on the Plus. Bundesliga 220, Dortmund Bochum and Valladolid Mallorca. Fox Soccer Plus has the doubleheader in the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote, 11:20 and 2 o'clock. NextPro.com has Loons 2 hosting Colorado Rapids 2 at 8 o'clock. Paramount Plus, Serie A, Milan and Lecce at 2:45. The Championship, Plymouth Argyle and Luton at 3. USL Super League, Carolina, Tampa Bay at 7:30 tonight. That is Friday. College, just so I'll click on it. Jason got to call a waterlogged Kennesaw State match yesterday. Looked like the field held up pretty well. 5 matches on the men's side, combination of Flow Sports in Division II and a lot of West Coast play on ESPN Plus. Women, all the women's games. Goodness gracious alive. SEC, SEC Plus, ESPN Plus, Big Ten Network Plus, all the women's sports, ACC Extra as well. And it starts, and Flow in the Big East. And that starts at noon Eastern. So once again, starting at noon Eastern. Oh, actually, that was yesterday. Sorry, my bad. Disregard everything I just said. A lot of men's action starting at 3 o'clock on Flow. It is, once again, a lot of D2. They've got some, what's the conference involving? West Alabama. West Alabama and Spring Hill going at it in Division II. It is Gulf South. So you've got a lot of Division II and NAIA on Flow. That's this afternoon starting at 3. 6 o'clock and starting later, ESPN Plus, ACC Extra. It is a lot of SEC. It is Big East. It is ACC. It's MAC. Georgia Southern and Kentucky is at 7:30 on the Plus. ACC Flow goes back into Division II at 7:30 and 8. You've got American Athletic Conference. You've got some Mountain West. You've got Lee and Auburn Montgomery on Flow at 8:30. That's cool and close to our hearts. Old NAIA action, but that's at 8:30. Lee and Auburn Montgomery. Women, it is Grand Valley and Saginaw Valley. That one's in Division II, and that one's going on right now. 1 o'clock, you've got a lot on Flow in Division II. You've got a lot going on later this afternoon and tonight out west. And you've got Gulf South, and you have Fun Belt tonight on ESPN Plus and Flow. So that's your collegiate run, and that is everything going on the planet today. Wow, full show. Thanks to all of y'all for hanging out. Once again, remember, it is Atlanta United trying to get to Philly to take on Philadelphia Union tomorrow night, 7:40. Pregame 6:30 on 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app. Full-time report afterward. Philadelphia Union 2, Atlanta United 2. Sunday afternoon at 3 kick. 2:30 pregame, 3:03 kick. And that will be our season finale with Atlanta United 2 on the regular season side of things. One more from Christopher Abel. It says, what we should have done, use the U.S. Open Cup as the method for selecting a Club World Cup wild card slot. Would have incentivized all MLS teams to want to participate. Could have helped encourage more interest in the competition. Yes, and so could have actually making roster rules that make sense. Once again, as I've held it up the entire show and forgot to take the banner down, don't forget to vote early, vote often for us. Football Content Awards in the organization with an S category, broadcaster. Humbling to be a part of the 10 that are there. And you can vote on the footballcontentawards.com/voting until the 13th of October, dinner time. Glad you're all okay. Glad we made it through Helene in whatever ways we have. Glad that all of our power stayed on. Thoughts, obviously, all of our love and best wishes to everyone who's affected one way or the other. If you're fighting your power, if it's flickering on and off, if you got flooding, take care of yourselves, take care of everybody else. We get through this together. That's how this runs. So all of our best love goes to all of you this weekend. Be safe, be healthy, and be there for one another. We'll be back at it again on Sunday with the twos at soccerdownhere.mixlr.com. Monday, 9:05, we'll be back at it going through everything that happened on the weekend. And we'll have Abe at 9:15 and Bart with more reffing down here, I'm quite certain, at 10 o'clock. And we'll find out how he dealt with a bye week with his beloved West Virginia Mountaineers. So for everybody here at SDH, keep your best love and thoughts for Nick and his family. Be there for one another. Be safe. We'll be back at it again on Monday. Hopefully we'll have dug out from Helene and everything that she has done. And keep an eye out for everybody here in the footprint and your love to everybody. So it's supposed to be a pretty decent week going forward. For everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Thanks for dropping by. Time to whistle us out. It is a Friday, so that means I've got to do one thing. I forgot to do the damn intro. Oh, John, what is the matter with you? So instead of whistling us to a close, it's time to have the Friday close that we always like to do here to end our week. So for everybody here at SDH, play it safe, everybody. Mucha platial. Enjoy your weekend. Time to go.
The war was on. The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress. The streets are ours. Be gone.